for the homie dogs. My name is Finli.
I'm Nathalee.
I'm Brianna.
And I'm Leanna.
We're going to be
Maybe we
discussing
should
On the
do that.
Road, so start with first things first, opinions. How did you guys feel about the book?
I didn't
No.
mind reading it. I like the way the story was told. I like
Really?
rambling, yeah.
Wow.
It felt very artsy.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why I didn't connect with it, because sometimes I feel like when it comes to things that are very art house, like artsy type of things, I can visually, appeal to the aesthetic more than I can to just reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, every time he rambled, it just felt like he was rambling but not saying anything.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like it was like a journal. Like it was just kind of him
Yeah.
just like saying what he saw, what he
True.
felt. That's why I liked it.
I feel like formatted more like a journal, like physically written like a journal. I would have liked it more.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
you mean with like
it was
like
clearly
dates?
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Because, like, he went from one event to another
Yeah.
so quickly that I was just like,
Yeah, and there was a lot of characters too. It was like really hard to
yeah.
figure out who's important, like who's coming back. Especially
Yeah.
with like the hitchhikers, like he would pick someone up, or like he would go in like someone's car, and then you'd see them for like a couple chapters, and they'd just disappear.
I like that part though. In the beginning, when they're all like, when he's in like the back of the pickup truck.
That was
Yeah,
one of
I
the
like
only
that
parts
part.
that
Oh,
I
yeah.
fully remembered.
I liked that.
I love that part. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it was so all over the place that it would just like jump from one place to another that it made it hard to follow what was actually going on. So it made it harder to like the story and just like because I just didn't
I feel
understand.
like another thing was that, like, with the movie, it was very explicit in what was going on, and like we mentioned that in the book, it wasn't as explicit; it was more implicit that like drugs and sex were happening. But I feel like when it comes to like books that are like journal entries, there's something going on in the background that's interesting enough to keep you like pulled in. But because he wasn't very like, he talked about a whole bunch of details, but not of the things that would keep someone interested.
True. I feel like he mentioned like everything and just like a little bit of everything with like details, but it wasn't like something that was cohesive and like
Like, the things you want to hear about would be
Yeah.
like a sentence, but then he spent like 10 pages talking about like a shoe or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
I feel like it made it like it didn't make it clear what parts we were supposed to be paying more attention to.
I think maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, it's something about life.
I think it was too. I just don't like it.
Yeah. No, yeah. I
like I
agree.
think that is what
Like,
he was
I
trying
get the
to
Yeah,
point,
it definitely
and
was what
objectively
he was
it did a
trying
good
to
job,
do.
but subjectively it's not the kind of book I would read.
Yeah.
So just like
Like,
personally.
I had high hopes for it because I mean it sounded really cool, the idea of traveling and just doing whatever you wanted and being rebellious, but I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. And the characters just got on my nerves.
Really?
Which one?
All of them. I just didn't really enjoy any of them.
I mean, I don't know.
The way
Like,
they were like complaining or whatever, like those people were annoying because they were just whining and complaining. But then Dean was annoying because he just couldn't like stick to anything or do anything like
I
normally.
think part of why those people seem so annoying, the ones that are like whining and stuff, is because we're seeing it from Sal's perspective, and Sal was like enamored with Dean. So
That's
they,
such a good
so
point.
those people seem like they're whining when in reality, like when you watch the movie, you realize they're actually like valid complaints because
Mhm.
Dean, like the people, like Dean's behavior is fine in passing, but when you have to live with him or like deal with him fully,
Mhm.
That's such a good
his
point.
behavior would seem like a lot worse. So
Like when he left his wife with the baby, that was like heartbreaking to like see it in the movie. It was just like wow.
like I'd be mad.
He really did that. That's terrible. Like,
Yeah,
just
and then
because
he's
he
like-
was bored and like there
and then
really
he's like-
was no reason for
He's
it.
like, do you want to come? And she's like, don't make
Yeah.
yourself try and feel better by saying that you asked me. You're going to go without me anyway. And do
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like you know I couldn't
you-
come.
Yeah, and it was clear that's what he was doing because he was like, okay, I'll just go. Like, you know.
Well, yeah, Dean obviously had like a lot of like deeper issues because something with his dad happened. Like he wasn't in the picture. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah, he definitely had issues.
yeah, and so did the people around him too. So it's just like everyone's had a bunch of issues. So you put all those people together, like obviously nothing good's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I felt like
nothing.
it was just like a tornado.
Yeah,
All the
exactly.
time.
Whenever
Yeah.
they would go, there'd always just,
So,
like,
do you think,
destruction.
like, Dean's tornado, like, personality is what, like, attracted Sal to him? Like, what do you think made their
Yeah.
relationship so strong?
I think they were opposites in a way because like Dean was so out there and just always willing to try anything, and Sal was, I guess, more fearful. I guess you would say like.
Sal just knew
He was
that
just
like
more like normal and more like he wanted to get out there, but he
Yeah.
like didn't.
like the normal quote unquote normal
Yeah.
like mindset is like, okay, there are some things that I want to do, but I know that I probably either A, shouldn't, or B, I could, but there are consequences.
Yeah.
And, like, that was Sal's mindset, and Dean's was just like, F it, like, I
Yeah.
want to do this, and, like, it could be dangerous, but I'm gonna have fun, and I'm gonna do it.
I feel like Sal just wants to belong, and like that's why he surrounds himself with these people. Because like in the same way, he feels like he can fake it.
I think Sal wants to be interesting and wants people to think that he's cool and interesting, and that's why he follows people that he thinks are
Yeah, he
amazing
wants to be
and
that
cool.
person.
Yeah.
Like before we watched the movie, it was mentioned that Jack Kerouac didn't like the fact that his book was such a staple in the Beat generation. Like, why do you think that is? Why didn't he want people, like, why didn't he like that people identified him with the Beat generation?
Look, you know, he liked thinking in his own way, and maybe he wanted to encourage people to, like, think in their own way instead of following after somebody else.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's more of a free spirit, like, independent thinker, and he wouldn't have...
Like, people following his book was
Yeah,
like being, like, hypocritical.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
Why do you think?
I think he, like, a lot of times, like what Sal and Dean do in the book is they use, like, great bigger pictures as an excuse to just do stupid stuff, and I think maybe he could have seen it as that way, like, this Beat generation was trying to be rebellious and do all the things he did in his youth, and they're using, like, his book as some big reason to do it, when in reality he just do it because you feel like it.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make it seem like it's for some big reason.
Like, he didn't want people using his book.
Yeah.
Because, like, just, like, the book in and of itself was, like, what he wanted to, like, portray, I guess. But he didn't want people to only feel the way he felt after reading his book. Like, he didn't want his book to be the reason why people felt the same way. If that makes any sense.
Do you think there was a reason for all of the madness and craziness and drugs and everything that they did?
Like in the book?
Yeah, just like in general.
Like in that time period.
Yeah.
I think I said it in class, but like to feel something, I guess. Like they're living in this place where, in this time where there's like the nuclear family, there's a very clear set photo of what your future should be like. And you're supposed to feel a certain type of way about it, and no one ever spoke about like how they may not have been happy with that situation. So if you did feel unhappy with that situation, you didn't have anybody to relate to.
Yeah, I think they're just all trying to escape.
Yeah, so like when you're drinking, when you're doing drugs, everyone's feeling the same type of like loose, fun way. So it was a way to escape the fact that you're not exactly happy the way you're supposed to be. Let's talk about this scene. The famous Steve Buscemi gay sex scene. But
Okay,
like, so after that like section.
Oh my god.
Why do you think Sal reacted the way he did? Like, he sort of didn't want to talk to Dean.
Probably just in shock.
Yeah. I don't
Well,
think...
it wasn't the first time that Dean
Yeah.
had a gay encounter.
Not with Sal was like there, and he was
Yeah,
kind
but
of
he was
invited,
there
but-
when it happened with
The other guy.
Carlo.
Yeah.
Oh, but Dean
I
was
don't-
doing it for
yeah.
money this time.
Yes.
I don't think Sal was that, like, was he that tolerant of, like, homosexuality?
To be fair, he himself kisses Dean multiple times.
This is true.
That's true.
I think because Dean was doing
Like,
it
he-
for money, so
yeah.
that's what changed it. And Sal was like, "Wow, this is a new low."
I think
Yeah, like this
I
is
think
just a
it's
different.
It
part
showed
of
him,
it
like, the character.
could
of
have been
Dean.
like jealousy. Cause
That's what I thought it was,
yeah, because
honestly.
like if you think
Because
about
like
it,
Steve Buscemi didn't ask Sal, he asked Dean.
I
Like,
thought
that's
he
Sal
invited like
also-
both of them. I
But
thought,
Sal got up right away, and because he knew where it was going.
what I think it was that like, so Sal wants his connection with Dean. He feels like they're long lost souls, right? So
does he say that in the book?
it's kind of like implied, and like
Mhm.
even in the movie, like the
Well, they're so
voiceovers,
connected. Yeah.
they're like so connected, and he longs for that connection with Dean. So it's just like, here's this old, wrinkly, pale fart of a man who somehow still felt more of a connection with Dean than Sal gets to.
I just feel like he just didn't approve of the whole interaction, and it just showed him, like, wow, Dean really could sink to this new level of low.
Yeah.
That, like,
I think
it
it was
just showed
more
him a new
ageism
side.
instead
Ageism.
of the whole like homophobia thing. Like, I don't think
Oh,
it was
yeah,
the
yeah.
fact that it was
It
a
was
guy.
man.
Yeah.
It was an old man.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like this
Okay.
old
So it's
guy
just
that was like,
"You don't sleep with me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
yeah.
So you're gonna sleep with that? Not
All
all
of
of
this.
this.
I didn't get that vibe at all.
Really?
Yeah, like I knew like Sal was like connected to Dean, but I thought he was just more interested, just like curious.
Yeah.
I don't
mean,
think it was
okay,
like
Because Dean
an
is
actual
like
okay.
Dean is just like
attractiveness.
himself, but
You know
Sal
what?
doesn't know who he
Yeah.
is. So I think that's why he was so drawn.
I think that's part of it. Like, I don't think he was like genuinely like in love with Dean.
Mhm.
in
No.
a way-
Yeah.
like not romantically, but in a way he was in love with who Dean was and
Mhm.
how he could be that
Okay.
way.
I think I could see that because like when if you have a best friend and they like start dating someone, there's almost a little bit of like, oh, you're hanging out with them all the time. Like, when
Yeah.
are you gonna hang out with me?
like, oh, like I wasn't hanging out with you enough, or like I wasn't
Yeah.
good enough to like have
So
all
it's
of your
not even
attention.
that it was like sex, but just the fact that
Yeah.
someone shared an experience with Dean that
Exactly.
he couldn't, and it was this old man.
Exactly.
yeah.
Like, do you think On the Road still carries like the same significance it did for the B generation now?
for our generation.
I don't think people look at it the same way. Like, I think when it came out, it was this like monumental, yeah, like, oh my gosh, nobody's ever done this before.
Yeah.
Like, these characters are all brand new. And now, like, not that we do have other books like it, but I feel like just our society is more like
Yeah,
not so in shock
I
by
mean,
like drinking and sex and
yeah.
drugs and stuff.
definitely. And right now we definitely have like a kind of culture where we want to travel and we're all like, oh, like I want to save up money. I want to like travel. A bunch of people will go travel for a few months and like
But
Yeah,
like we
Instagram
can't do
post
it the
pictures
same
of it.
way.
yeah, it's not the same, but it's still like we still do.
It's not like an
some kind
unspoken
form
of
it.
concept.
Yeah, we don't feel as stuck. I don't think.
Yeah.
Do you think like because we did talk about how like hitchhiking isn't as common because we have like Uber and stuff now, but like we still feel somehow safer with that. But like, do you think like the behavior seen in the book, like the amounts of sex and drugs, do you think like it's still prevalent?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just in different groups of people. You know, there's always going to be that group of people in any society.
Also, I think
College
like what you
students.
said. It's also like what you said. It's not like shocking anymore, so it's like
Yeah.
less of the want to do it so much, like because like they were like drugs. And
Yeah.
Also, we have a lot more information about drugs now.
Yeah.
So it's just, like there are a
Yeah.
lot more drugs that are stigmatized more now than they were
Yeah.
then.
And
It's
even
like
Weed
there-
is being legalized everywhere.
There was like that interview that the guy had about like one of the characters in the book that it was based off him, and he was talking about how he was a heroin addict and he's not anymore, but like they still talked about it very calmly. And he talked about it like it was an easy thing to beat, but it's just like now like things like heroin, crack, and like a lot of the drugs that they probably did in the book or in the movie are like seen a lot worse now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So we
and
never
even
go
with
as
like sex and alcohol, like it's like we just have more information on like the cons of doing
Yeah.
like
so it doesn't
everything.
seem like as cool anymore
yeah.
when like there's such a big like risk. So like we don't go past like marijuana much anymore.
Yeah.
When in there
Yeah.
they were trying a whole bunch of stuff.
Like it was almost not cool to just stop at marijuana.
Yeah, like they just went anywhere and they found a random kid on the street.
a
and was
little
like, "You have
Mexican boy who
marijuana-
wanted to just give
you
him
have
a blunt.
marijuana, like, and they just got it.
Marijuana, marijuana, see, and
Yeah,
asked
he
his
did.
grandmother for it.
Yeah.
And then like did they pay for it?
I mean,
No, he just
Actually-
it was a blunt the size of like his wrist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they just shared it.
like,
You know how hard it is
yeah.
to get that much weed?
And they just shared it. They got it for free
Yeah.
and just shared it. Like what? It was just such like a different
Anyway, this was
everything.
Yeah.
us talking about On the Road. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, Professor Koch. Can't wait to see you in the next podcast with The Big Short. Woo!